Welcome back, everybody.
That's right. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking chickens. We're going to walk you through the steps that we take here on our farm to be able to free range our chickens, like you see in the background, a ways away from where their coop is, and keep them safe, keep them healthy, and relatively free from predators. So stay tuned and walk you through that. So before we get into the 5 or 6 specific steps we're taking, I figured to take a minute and talk about our qualifications, if there are any. Really just talking about our experience. For those of you new here, I'm Mitch. This is my wife, Nicole. A couple of our kids. Yeah, we're gonna, like I said, 4 or 5 things that are pretty specific. We'll save the more interesting things for last. Some of them should be no-brainers, but some of them are a little more complex. We've been doing the chicken thing for about 4 years. It's mostly Nicole's gig. She handles the bulk. And Jonathan, who you know from the channel, handles the bulk of the chicken chores. But I'm charged with protecting them more than anything. So we'll start up at the coop. And just a touch more background, we live on a large rural property in central New Hampshire. So we've got just about every predator you could imagine that would want to turn our chickens into some food. We've got black bear, coyote, bobcat, fox, weasel, skunk, raccoon, hawks. All those things could see this as a meal, and it's our job as a chicken keeper to keep them safe. So our coop is inside the barn. It's a converted horse stall. I'll give you a glimpse of that. And our run's a 16 by 16 outdoor thing, also pretty well protected. I'll walk you through that. But to start, as a caveat, I'm a firm believer that you can keep chickens happy and healthy without free ranging them. We chose to free range when we can for a number of reasons. Cuts down on our food bill, especially this time of year. They eat all kinds of plants and bugs and stuff. I think that increases the nutrition in the eggs that we ultimately eat. But yeah, and it's just fun to see them out around the house. So those couple things, but you don't need to free range. But if you clicked on this video, chances are you've had a problem or you're worried about potential problems. So hopefully this will help you. So I slapped this run together real quickly for more than 4 years ago now. And the outside is all clad with this hardware cloth. So as you probably know, chicken wire is made for keeping chickens in. It's not made for keeping predators out. With that said, the roof of this chicken wire was pretty expensive 4 years ago, especially when you're buying large volumes. I imagine it's even more expensive now. But the roof of this, oh, there's a hornet's nest up there. The ceiling of the run anyways is just clad with chicken wire, and that's to keep birds out. And that's worked real well for us. We haven't had any predators try to get in through the roof. We have had a couple diggers though, so I'll bring it down to the ground and show you what we did at the ground. So I'm not going to dig this up for you, but you can picture the hardware cloth is in 2-foot strips, and we've buried it. So each strip extends down under the ground for about 2.5 feet out. So, and it's not buried super deep, so 4 to 5 inches down. It's any digging animal, they're going to run into that hardware cloth pretty quick when their instincts tell them that they can dig under this wall here. And none of them are smart enough to, I don't believe, to start digging 2 to 3 feet out and then tunnel in that way. At least we haven't experienced it. So that little bit of extra effort and extra cost when you're building your run, I think goes a long way for protecting these guys. And just a real quick glimpse at our run. It's all clad with the same hardware cloth. So the barn isn't predator proof. Anything is just barn doors, so weasels and anything small can walk right in, but they won't be able to get into the coop itself. All up above the door, everywhere, it's all got hardware cloth on it. So it's a big expense to start with, but keeps the chicken safe. So up next on the list is a dog. So you'll see a lot of folks on the internet, they've got livestock guardian dogs. This one is just a couch dog. He's our pet. He gets along great with the chickens. Chickens get along great with him. But I think he is a reason why a lot of the predators don't want to come around here. So he's a male, and dogs by nature are predators. And he's not very big. He's only about 50 pounds. So he's bigger than most of the predators. He's bigger than most coyotes, bigger than almost all bobcats. And he pees everywhere. This is his territory. He'll go all around the field here and pee. And that helps a lot. And another thing that he does is we save his when we brush him, he loves being brushed. He's very wet right now. He just jumped in the pond. But his hair, when we brush him inside, we usually don't brush him outside, we'll save his hair, and not always, but maybe a few times a year, we'll sprinkle his hair. This thing's pretty cool. It's a Furminator. I'll put a link if you don't have one. It's a little wet right now, but this takes out a lot of hair without much trouble. If we just sprinkle that hair around the outside of the barn or the perimeter of the field, I think that goes a long way with scaring off a lot of predators. Obviously, if something's determined enough, hungry enough, that's not going to bother them, especially a bigger male predator. But yeah, good excuse to brush Jack. He loves it. So we've talked about the coop, we've talked about the run, we've talked about the dog and the dog fur. He's eating some eggs. The kids just threw some eggs on the ground. I think, so we've got about 18 chickens, and one of them is this guy. This guy's name is Peanut, and he's our only rooster. And we probably lucked out with him because he gets along fine with just about everyone. The babies, the dog, the cat, and the chickens. You can get a glimpse of his spurs there. They're pretty, so that's number 4. Something with spurs is gonna do pretty well to deter most predators. And it's more than just the spurs. Let's see. It's his instincts. So his main instinct is to breed. Second, caring for the safety of all these other chickens. Probably third is himself. So he keeps an eye out on everything. The hens by themselves are a little silly. They don't really seem to care when big birds fly over, but he'll alert everybody and they'll go take cover. And yeah, and he's just cool to have around. He's prettier, he's more flashy than the rest of them, I think, and just a joy to have around. And he's what enables us to hatch our own eggs. So for almost all reasons, we're glad to have Peanut around. So just to touch more context, we only let our chickens free range while somebody's home during the afternoon. So we leave them in the coop or in the run for the first half of the day until about lunchtime usually. That's just so they lay all their eggs inside and we can collect them. If we let them out too early, they'll start laying eggs in the woods or under the garage or somewhere we can't find them. So the second half of the day, if somebody's home, which is just about all the time, we'll let them out. And the barn here is about 100 yards from our home, but it's all open and we can monitor the situation for the most part. Good thing about the rooster and the chickens in general, they'll make a bunch of commotion if something bad is happening. And we can intervene as necessary. You can use your imagination for that. But that's worked out real well for us. The afternoon, while somebody's home, we can let them out. And they don't stay within sight. They roam around at their will. But that's worked out real good for us. Before we get into the last tip, kind of the controversial tip, if you've got any interest in what we're talking about here, chickens, you saw the firewood in the background, we've got a sawmill up there, we've got a large garden, any interest in that kind of moving towards sustainability type stuff, please consider subscribing, liking this video. It means a lot to us, and we're going to keep taking you along for the ride if you're interested. Alright, the last tip we have for you, and the controversial one, it's a shame it needs to be controversial at all, but we actively manage the predator population here on our property. And we do that in a few different ways. The most traditional is hunting. We hunt a black bear. New Hampshire Fish and Game said there's more black bear in our county than the land can sustain, so that's us doing our part. Very healthy food as well. And the second way, the more probably impactful way, is we are trappers. So during the trapping season, which is late fall and throughout the winter, for certain species, we actively trap. So raccoons are probably the most prolific predator we have here on our property, and there are a lot of them, and they probably get way bigger than you think they do. I'll post some pictures of Jonathan just behind the barn here with a couple of raccoons. So you can get an idea of the size of them, but I think that goes in a long way for keeping our flock safe. Beyond that, it's a great tradition, great for the kids, and that's kind of just a way of life here for us in central New Hampshire. Alright, so those are all the tips and tricks we have for you. If you've got any tips that work particularly well on your property, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. If you've got any questions about chickens or animal keeping in general, post them down there. We'll try to answer them here or in another video. But yeah, really appreciate you all subscribing, appreciate you following along, and we'll see you guys at the next one. Take care.
Bye.